She won in 2025 over Angel Wilson, who was nominated. Her team won 10 games, and she fully intended to quit on them. Meanwhile, Asia hit a game-winning shot to win her 4th title and another MVP. Yeah, this award is a joke. Wow. I'm not even reading that quote about Shaq. Woo-wee!
The moment Angel Reese appeared again on the BET Sportswoman of the Year nominee list, the entire basketball conversation exploded into chaos. Not because people were surprised to see a famous athlete recognized. Not because BET honoring major stars is unusual. The outrage erupted because this nomination arrived at the exact moment when Angel Wilson continues building one of the greatest stretches of dominance the WNBA has ever seen. While Angel Reese is battling criticism about efficiency, turnovers, finishing ability, and overall development on the floor. That contrast is what turned a normal award nomination into a league-wide firestorm. For many fans, Angel Wilson represents elite production, championships, MVPs, defensive dominance, and sustained greatness. Angel Reese, meanwhile, represents something completely different in modern sports culture. Visibility, attention, branding power, social media influence, and non-stop headlines. And that tension has become one of the defining arguments in women's basketball. Is BET rewarding basketball excellence, or is BET rewarding cultural relevance? Because when Angel Reese gets nominated beside names like Naomi Osaka, Coco Gauff, and Gabby Thomas, the debate instantly shifts from stats to symbolism. Suddenly, the conversation is no longer only about rebounds, field goal percentage, or championships. The conversation becomes about influence, visibility, marketability, narrative power, and that is exactly why the backlash became so intense. Because for a huge section of basketball fans, Angel Wilson losing recognition to Angel Reese feels impossible to justify through pure basketball logic. Especially after another season where Angel Wilson continued proving she is still the standard every other WNBA superstar is chasing.
Because she's won this award, which is pretty baffling. And last year, she beat Angel Wilson. By the way, Asia, another MVP award, another title. Is Angel Reese going to win this award again over Angel Wilson? Because, and I got to tell you, this is getting destroyed. But let's just go over here to that grape juice.
The reaction became explosive because this was not the first time Angel Reese had been connected to this award. The transcript repeatedly points back to the previous year, when Angel Reese reportedly beat Angel Wilson despite Wilson adding another MVP-level season and another championship-level resume to her legacy. That history changed everything. If this had been Angel Reese's first nomination, the conversation probably stays relatively calm. But because Angel Wilson already lost once in the eyes of many fans, the nomination reopened an old wound across the basketball community. And timing made it even worse. The nomination surfaced immediately after one of Angel Reese's roughest televised performances. The transcript focuses heavily on shooting struggles, turnovers, and growing frustration surrounding her offensive development. That created a brutal collision between perception and reality. On one side was Angel Reese, the celebrity figure, still receiving major recognition. On the other side was Angel Reese, the basketball player, facing mounting criticism about efficiency and execution. That gap is where the anger started boiling over. Meanwhile, Angel Wilson keeps stacking accomplishments at a pace that resembles all-time legends. Every season, Wilson expands the argument that she is not just the best player in the league right now, but potentially one of the greatest players in WNBA history. Her dominance is systematic: interior scoring, rim protection, leadership, championship pressure, clutch moments, defensive versatility, every area of the game. And that's why so many fans see this award conversation as symbolic of a bigger issue in modern sports culture. Because basketball discussions increasingly operate in two separate realities. One reality values elite production above everything else. The other values attention above everything else. Angel Reese sits directly at the center of that second reality. She generates reactions at a level few athletes can match. Whether supporters love her confidence or critics attack her performances, Angel Reese dominates headlines constantly. That attention has financial value, cultural value, television value, social engagement value. But for traditional basketball fans, none of that should outweigh what Angel Wilson has accomplished on the court. That's the emotional core of this controversy. Not hatred toward Angel Reese, not even frustration with BET alone. The real frustration comes from fans who believe Angel Wilson's greatness is becoming normalized to the point where dominance no longer guarantees recognition. And when greatness becomes expected, awards can suddenly shift toward the athlete generating the loudest conversation instead of the athlete playing the best basketball.
So, there you see right there, Angel Reese has been nominated for BET Sportswoman of the Year 2026. You know my issue, this doesn't help Angel at all. It just artificially stimulates whatever in the hell's going on in there that's got her from not applying herself to her craft, which is basketball. It's supposed to be basketball.
What makes this situation even more complicated is the psychological pressure now surrounding Angel Reese herself, because every award nomination raises expectations. Every headline magnifies scrutiny. Every public debate intensifies pressure. And right now, Angel Reese is trying to evolve under one of the brightest spotlights women's basketball has ever created. That spotlight can elevate careers, but it can also distort development. Young players normally improve through quiet mistakes, gradual growth, and patient coaching. Angel Reese does not have that luxury anymore. Every missed layup trends online. Every turnover becomes debate content. Every rough performance turns into a national argument. That environment changes players psychologically, especially when comparisons to Angel Wilson become unavoidable, because Angel Wilson represents the finished version of greatness. Angel Reese still represents potential mixed with celebrity-level visibility. Those are two completely different stages of a basketball career, yet public discussions constantly force them into direct competition. Historically, the WNBA has seen superstar rivalries shape entire eras. Lisa Leslie and Sheryl Swoopes helped define early league identity. Diana Taurasi built a reputation through relentless scoring dominance and competitive fire. Candace Parker expanded the idea of positional versatility, but the Angel Reese era feels different because social media accelerates everything. Criticism moves faster, narratives spread faster, fan wars escalate faster. And branding power now impacts athlete perception almost as much as actual performance. That's why the transcript repeatedly circles back to the idea that these awards may unintentionally hurt Angel Reese long-term. Not because recognition is bad, but because recognition without corresponding on-court dominance creates impossible expectations. Meanwhile, Angel Wilson continues operating in a completely different mental space. Championship athletes eventually reach a stage where validation no longer comes from headlines. It comes from legacy accumulation. Rings, MVPs, statistical milestones, historical comparisons. Angel Wilson is now competing against history itself. That difference matters. Because Angel Reese is still trying to prove she belongs among elite WNBA stars consistently. Angel Wilson is trying to prove she belongs among immortal basketball names. And when those two realities collide in the same award category, the debate becomes emotionally charged immediately. One player symbolizes future influence. The other symbolizes established greatness. One player dominates discourse. The other dominates basketball. That tension is exactly why this story exploded beyond a normal awards discussion.
She's literally the worst shooter in the history of the league, and they still want to give her awards? Seriously, what the F are they smoking? There are way better players than her. I mean, that's a fact. She's taken a spot from somebody else that could be nominated. Nafisia Collier? On line one? Anybody? Fuck it. The Fever. Kelsey Mitchell. I mean, what?
The biggest consequence of this controversy may not even involve the award itself. The real impact could hit the WNBA's broader reputation and future business direction, because awards shape narratives, narratives shape stars, and stars shape league economics. Women's National Basketball Association is currently experiencing unprecedented visibility. Television ratings are climbing, social media engagement is exploding, sponsorships are growing, player branding has become more powerful than ever before. In that environment, athletes like Angel Reese become incredibly valuable commercially. She drives reactions, she attracts debate. She generates clicks, engagement, controversy, and conversation constantly. That level of visibility has enormous marketing power regardless of shooting percentages or turnover numbers. But there is also risk, because if fans begin believing awards are disconnected from basketball performance, trust in recognition systems erodes quickly. And once fans stop believing awards reflect merit, every future honor becomes controversial automatically. That's why Aja Wilson sits at the center of this entire debate. Aja Wilson represents the benchmark fans use to measure basketball excellence right now. If Aja Wilson loses recognition while continuing to dominate statistically and competitively, many fans will interpret that as proof that narrative value now outweighs actual performance. And that perception can fracture fan bases. One side sees Angel Reese as a transformational cultural figure helping grow women's basketball into mainstream entertainment. Another side sees Aja Wilson as the player carrying the actual basketball standard of the sport. Eventually, those perspectives collide, and the league may have to confront an uncomfortable question: what matters more in modern sports, elite production or elite attention? Because the answer increasingly determines endorsements, media coverage, award races, and public perception. Future consequences could become massive. If Angel Reese improves dramatically and eventually dominates on the court, this entire controversy transforms into part of her rise story. Critics will look foolish in hindsight. But if the basketball growth stagnates while the recognition continues growing, the backlash will only intensify. Meanwhile, Aja Wilson's legacy keeps expanding regardless of public debates. Championships and MVPs age differently than social media narratives. History remembers sustained greatness, and that is what gives this story such enormous tension heading forward. Angel Reese represents where sports culture is moving. Aja Wilson represents the traditional definition of basketball excellence. The collision between those two forces may define the next era of WNBA conversations entirely.